This is really basic shit. I know. But you have to remember, we're in a real crisis of stupidity, especially championed by and shepherded by conservatives. So you have to do stuff like this. I don't think Asmongold looked at these numbers and genuinely thought, oh, this is actually false or this is actually lying with numbers. He's just too stupid. He's just too stupid to comprehend what he's looking at. What is this? Waving the white flag, exposing the grift, the Birdman with another Asmongold video. Oh my God, this guy's bangers after bangers, dude. Where'd this guy come from? I love this guy, man. Holy shit.
I predicted, Zach was too cowardly to respond to the video where he got thoroughly debunked again. He once again pulls the excuse that the video is too long, while no live streaming for what amounts to a full work day at a normal job. It's like, what the f are you even reacting to on stream if not a person bitch slapping you for the length of the first Shrek film? You have nothing else to do. You do nothing else but talk about people on stream. Your excuses may work on those that follow you, but for everyone else, it's looking like you're afraid of acknowledging criticism. You claim to farm people for content, but apparently you're too scared to build the barn. I guess you're afraid of people that will actually farm you back. Anyway, he basically skims through the video, which is definitely how you respond to someone criticizing you. Very honest, not scared of what's being said at all. But even him skimming through the video has produced hilarious results, and that's what we're going to take a look at in today's episode of The Infinite Regress. Take it away, Mr. Hoyt.
Birdman posted this? No. Birdman posted again. Destroying Asmongold for 1.5 hours. Well, he took my advice. I'm not gonna sit around and react to a video that's an hour and a half long.
I'm sorry. What? Your thoughts and opinions have precisely zero effect on my video making process. You can respond, or you can hide, cope, and send your audience at me. None of that will affect me or how I decide to respond. As you can see, I am still here, standing on all 10 toes, ready to bitch slap you again. I said in that video that I'm aware that you're too chicken shit to actually respond to the whole thing, which is why it doesn't feature the start and stop buttons. Not that you would abide by them anyway. But that doesn't mean everyone else is afraid to watch the video, Zach. It's called exposing the grift, after all. And as such, everyone else saw me beat you into submission, and everyone else will use my arguments against your lies and bad talking points when you predictably keep making them. And everyone else will recognize that you can't handle being dunked on point by point and have to rely on others to do your dirty work because you're too stupid and or cowardly to do it yourself. Oh, I can put you in a blender in a short video or a long one. It makes no difference to me. Did Warcraft raid and still had a tangible hairline. I have videos.
Just crazy pull, huh? Just randomly click the point of video.
So as I said, he's just skimming through the video, which makes very little sense. My assumption is that since his audience have been melting down over the video, and yes, they have, he had no choice but to address it, and this is his roundabout way of doing that. A white flag, in other words. Do you notice how these numbers don't add up to 100? Right, because this is acceptance rate within a subgroup, not the
You can't read the graph. Oh my God.
I think Zach believes his theatrics are fooling people, which is cute. But remember, he's skimming through my video, a video where I thoroughly explain that graph, provide the source for that graph, and even show the students' actual school choices from 2014, a time period that graph covers. No, it's Zach that can't read that graph, as he will demonstrate for us in a few seconds.
Medical school acceptance rates in the United States from 2013 to 2016. If you had a score of I guess 24 to 26, if you were Asian, you had a 6% chance to get accepted.
Wrong.
If you were black, you had a 56% chance to get accepted.
Wrong.
I want you guys to see this because this is how unbalanced and how unfair it is.
Wrong.
So this is a part of his original stream on Twitch that was not included in the edited video that I responded to on YouTube. And that's fortunate for him because it would have been further evidence that he is really stupid. As I explained in my video, this graph...
Okay. One of the things that you have to understand is that white supremacy is cope. That's it. It's a way for people that are in the in-group that feel a sense of inferiority to others to cope with this mythological reality that they construct where they actually have genetic they actually have genetic superiority over others that they've determined are genetically inferior. That's what white supremacy is. No confident white guy is running around being like, you know what? I think entire races are actually worse than mine. No, they have their own accomplishments and their own sense of self to exist in the world without being unbelievably insecure. People who have tremendous crippling insecurities are the ones that are often sucked away with this kind of rhetoric.
Is showing the acceptance rate within a subgroup. 6 plus 8 plus 31 plus 56 adds up to 101, not 100. So clearly, these groups are not competing with each other. It gets worse the higher the MCAT scores go. 21 plus 29 plus 60 plus 81 is 191, and 58 plus 63 plus 83 plus 94 is 298. If these were the acceptance rates of these groups versus each other, the percentages would add up to 100. They don't because these are acceptance rates within a subgroup, not the chance you had to be accepted, as this moron said.
If you were Asian, you had a 6% chance to get accepted.
Wrong.
As I said in the other video, the acceptance rate for black students is higher because there are less black students that apply. There are more white and Asian applicants than black applicants. All of a sudden, this idiot doesn't understand per capita. If a pool has 100,000 people and 10% are accepted, that's 10,000 people. If Pool B has 5,000 people and 20% are accepted, that's 1,000 people. If Pool C has 100 people and 100% are accepted, well, that's 100 people. Percentages tell you next to nothing. What matters are the actual numbers. Zach is looking at the percentages and not the actual number of applicants accepted. In 2014, there were 89 black applicants at Howard University, the medical school that had the most black applicants. That same year, UCLA had over 400 Asian applicants, and UCLA was the school with the most Asian applicants. Since we know the percentage of those accepted, all you have to do is plug in the numbers, and for the sake of clarity, we'll use the numbers for the most qualified students, aka those with MCAT scores of at least 30 as per the graph. This means in 2014, UCLA accepted roughly 250 Asian students and Howard accepted 84 black students. Now, these numbers are not going to be exact for two reasons. The first is that the graph Zach is using is for a range of 4 years. The numbers will fluctuate year to year, and these percentages may be higher or lower each year. These are averages. The second reason is that the graph represents all medical schools. So Howard could have only accepted 50 black students that year, and
this is really basic shit. I know. But you have to remember, we're in a real crisis of stupidity, especially championed by and shepherded by conservatives. So you have to do stuff like this. I mean, look at 90% of the commentary around like this subpoena that I supposedly was receiving from the government and like an investigation. Like, it's all people who are too dumb to recognize that I'm not like leaking new information or anything like that, but they think it's new information. So they think that there is like an alternative story. They're literally following an alternative universe story, and conservatives do this all the time. I don't think Asmongold looked at these numbers and genuinely thought, oh, this is actually false or this is actually lying with numbers. He's just too stupid. He's just too stupid to comprehend what he's looking at. Like, he doesn't realize that given that there are far less applicants in that pool, there's a higher there is a higher percentage of black applicants that actually get into school. He's just looking at it and thinking, you know, across the board without analyzing the information. He's thinking like, oh no, it's just because black people get a leg up. That's affirmative action.
Other schools made up the difference to give us the average we see on Zach's graph. Again, we are talking about averages over a 4-year span, so the numbers I've given you may be slightly higher or lower depending on these factors. If I were to show black applicants for the 4 years of Zach's graph at Howard University specifically, it would be 93 students in 2013, 89 students in 2014, 101 students in 2015, and 111 students in 2016, for a total of 394 black applicants in the time span of Zach's graph. This is literally less than the number of Asian applicants UCLA had in a single year. But if we are assuming that all of these cohorts were the most qualified, we have an estimated 370 black students accepted by Howard University over 4 years. Just for the sake of being thorough, in 2013, UCLA had 405 Asian applicants. In 2014, there were 430. In 2015, there were 475. And in 2016, there were 557, for a total of 1,867 Asian applicants. If we assume they were the most qualified, this equates to an estimated 1,083 Asian applicants that were accepted to UCLA over 4 years. Lower percentage, significantly higher number of students. This is all on top of the fact that Asian and black medical students are applying to completely different schools. So the fact that Howard accepted 94% of black applicants has no effect on Asian students because Asian medical students don't apply to Howard University.
After covering Hasan for 4 hours straight today, Asmongold accuses Hasan of staying in his dark room all day and spreading hateful rhetoric. Just incredible projection. So you like full-time call Zach stupid now? You see this? He's not some smart guy pretending to be dumb. He never was. Wait, what? No, I've been saying he's stupid for a long-ass time. What? He's definitely smarter than he lets on. He definitely dumbs himself down, but he's not exactly an intelligent guy by any means. At most, he's... smart enough to farm people even dumber than himself, right? What is this? APAC trackers on it.
Fake. I don't think that they even believe this violence or this level of like aggression is like actually a good thing. I think they just sit in their dark room by themselves, or they sit in their room by themselves, and they just get gassed up by their chat, and they just get more and more emotionally elevated, and then they just say crazy stuff. I want capital punishment to be on the menu, and if that's the case, I want public executions. I want to have people get rounded up. I want to have these ICE protesters that are standing in front of these cars from the federal agents. I want to see them run over. I want to see the entire thing. And then as soon as they get run over, I want to see them handcuffed to their hospital bed, because after that, they're being sent to a work camp. That's what I want to see happen.
Dude. Oh, is it because the Groypers are coming after me? They did the clip compy again. Every couple of months, they put a clip compy out there of like, Hasan is actually a deeply violent guy. You should actually ban him off of every platform possible. That's been making the rounds. It's the let the streets flow red with capitalist blood clip compy. Is that what he was watching? Do you think he's so stupid that he forgets that he's watched that a million times over? Or do you think he has to fake making it seem like he's watching it for the first time every single time he watches the same clip compilation? It's like, yeah, not based. He went after Stavi too. Huh.
I hate these people. They're parasites. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture. Like, I don't even think they believe half this shit. I think they just crash out because they're getting gassed up. They're like, I gotta keep going. I keep going.
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the up. Blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part. Mm-hmm. And we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
Man. Right? I'm just saying that, like, that's what I think is happening.
That's textbook psychopathy. I mean, he's definitely gotten more and more unhinged in his rhetoric towards you.
Hasan needs to go to jail. This was Nick last month.
Asmongold laughs at Nick Fuentes saying Hasan Piker should be put in a prison camp. Why is it that he's the only person who's saying this finally? Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing. He's an insecure little boy. He recognizes that his entire like newfound fame is associated with Donald Trump. So the more Donald Trump's popularity goes away, the less popular he will become. And eventually he'll either have to pull out of this grift entirely and go back to talking about titties and video games, or he'll just keep chirping to a smaller and smaller audience. But I think right now he's flailing a little bit. He's like, he sees a lot of attention coming my way, and he wants to use that to farm as much outrage as possible. And he's getting more aggressive in his commentary. He's losing viewers, lowers the months. Yeah. Yeah, he's he's desperately upping the ante, which is ironic because that's like kind of what he's blaming, kind of saying what I'm doing here, which is not the case at all. If anything, I moderate more as time goes on. But didn't he used to criticize Israel's influence on America? And now he's defending Israel? Yes, he doesn't have any real worldview. Like, look, I hate Nick Fuentes. I think he is a cancerous force on American politics and just international politics in general. He doesn't have that kind of motion, but like that ideology is disgusting. All right, he's a neo-Nazi. But at least he has an ideology. Asmongold doesn't. Asmongold just like goes along with whatever the most like reactionary person in his immediate vicinity is saying. In a way that's not dissimilar to Joe Rogan, right? He's like very agreeable, but he's only agreeable to the far right.
And I know because I'm one of them.
Asmongold explains that he sees himself as a mainstream ally, directing his audience to people like Nick Fuentes. Yeah, I mean, it's really funny that like this guy is literally working with the ADL to try to get me banned, and the ADL has never even turned around and be like, this guy's anti-Semitic.
How did you not get deplatformed through all this? I simply, I am a very pragmatic person. I have no problems not saying things or not doing something if I feel like it won't be advantageous for me. So I just simply don't say things that I think will get me in trouble.
This is also part of the reason why I said, like, eventually this grift is going to die out, right? It has a longer lifeline than other grifts, though, because, like I said, he is farming the dumbest people, like genuinely the dumbest people in not just American society, but just like around the world. Right wingers, sorry to say this, but they're stupid. Okay, this doesn't mean that like leftists can't be stupid. I call myself stupid as well. But by and large, in order to be reactionary, you have to be kind of dumb, right? Like if you can establish a worldview where you think like entire races or entire ethnicities are actually inferior to you, like this is a very stupid thing to think. And stupid people are easy to sell to. They don't question your hypocrisy. They don't question whether or not you have any convictions. And therefore, when Asmongold turns around and on one day says like, oh, I don't know if we should like stop giving money to Israel. And then the next day is like championing Nicholas Fuentes and talking about how based he is for like denying the Holocaust or whatever. People in his audience don't turn around and go, wait a minute, what the f-? Like, so what, you're a pro-Israel Nick Fuentes supporter? Like, what's going on? What do you mean? So yeah, as long as grift is when you don't believe it. No, that's why I'm saying it is a grift. There are certain fundamentals he does believe, right? He is reactionary for sure. But a lot of the stuff he says he doesn't give a shit about at all. Are you kidding me? That's precisely the reason why back in the day when he was much more charitable to me, which was surprising. For the longest time, Asmongold was very charitable to me. And as a charitable commentator, he would constantly defend certain things. He'd be like, yeah, you guys are actually being ridiculous about the America Deserved 9/11 thing. Like 90% of his commentary now about all the old shit that I've said, he has defended in the past. Okay. But now he knows that the audience is constantly demanding more like fuck us on content. So he doesn't give a shit. He's just like, yeah, fuck him. He's a terrorist. He's bad. That's all this is. These are his kind of
You
fans.
know, I'm going to use Hasanabi as an example. He's more like trying to come across like the Pope. Everyone should listen to me. Whereas Asmongold is the wacky homeless guy on the side of the road, you know, holding the mic, holding the Bible and just screaming his interpretation of the Bible.
Zenbane said his great-great-great-grandmother was a school teacher in Mexico, and she came here properly. So she's a good immigrant. But all these bad immigrants, they're the problem. They're the ones causing our world to get worse.
There's a reason why the brain damage new political perspective pipeline is exclusively in one direction. Not a lot of strokes transforming racists into universal rights loving leftists. That's true. Yeah. When you actually have like an episode or go through like some kind of severe bout of mental illness or something like that.
Asmongold.
This is Steven Asarch. I interviewed Asmongold's biggest fans. Oh, I kind of want to watch this now. Steven is a reporter. But anyway, as I was saying, there's a reason why like no one goes through like a mental health episode like Kanye West did and then becomes like a Marxist-Leninist on the other side of it, right? The content at 7 likes. What are we doing? 4.7K likes. Yeah, I know Steven. Steven is a reporter. He's actually an intelligent person covering something that he knows very well. Oh my God. I'm going to stab myself in a video game with a fork and a knife in the eye socket and plug my eye hole out in that video game that I'm playing, in a scary, horrible video game, a horrifying horror game. Chatters, when I entertain certain types of content that have less views, there is perhaps a reason for it, right? Perhaps you don't have to backseat produce my stream. Perhaps sometimes it's better for you to shut the up and watch. This is one of those moments.
And until it's okay to say them. That's literally it. You're a good boy. Yeah, I like Nick doesn't do that. Nick says exactly what he thinks, and it's respectable. It is. I don't have any negative about it. But to me, I view my role as being a more mainstream ally towards this stuff.
Okay, there's something very funny about Asmongold thinking that he's in any way, shape, or form mainstream. Like, that's pretty funny. Okay, respect. You got me on this one. Yeah, famously mainstream Asmongold.
Without necessarily spearheading any sort of like real controversial change, because I can't really do that. It would compromise my position. That's the reason. I'm a funnel. Yeah, I kind of do.
That's so funny. He's like, look, guys, I'm a neo-Nazi too. Like, trust me. Yeah, I'm a base neo-Nazi too. Yeah, but like, I'm just a funnel, right? I'm just like funneling people to Nick Fuentes. Only stream this motherfucker should be concerned with is a shower. Mainstream in Europe, Lamau. I don't even think he's mainstream in Europe either. Like, are there people out there who are really invested in this kind of toxic politics? Absolutely, there are. I just don't think he's genuinely like a mainstream figure in any way, shape, or form. And not because like he's being botted or anything like that. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that, like, first of all, if he was truly a mainstream figure, he probably would have a lot more attention on things that he's doing, right? And I would go so far as to say this about Nick Fuentes. I think Nick Fuentes is a more mainstream figure than Asmongold is, right? So that's my first point. The second point is, when you look at Nick Fuentes and his interceptions or his interventions in American politics, and then you compare them to my interventions in American politics, you very quickly realize that regardless of Nick Fuentes' ecosystem of content, like or mass appeal, I guess, on the internet at least, analytics wise, like I think Asmongold obviously clears Nick Fuentes and certainly myself as well. But in the real world, as far as like we're talking about real world impact, it's not even close. I think that's part of the reason why he's so sad all the time and so angry all the time and cries about me all the time on his show. And one of the things that they have started chirping about Fuentes and the Groiper army is this false notion that they think that there's like 28 million Groypers or something. I saw that on Twitter because, you know, Twitter serves me all this Nazi shit. And it's just incredible cope, right? It is unbelievable cope. Like, these guys genuinely think there are like hidden neo-Nazi Groypers everywhere, right? And there are some, and certainly some of them have actually reached positions of power. We know that. The issue for Nick Fuentes and the like is that when they do reach a position of power, they very quickly disavow everything that they did in the past. Whereas when we run candidates, they're openly socialist, right? Like, who is Nick Fuentes' candidates? James Fishback? That's your guy? That's the guy that's doing a lot of impact? Because the reality of the matter is, Nick Fuentes running around and trying to take ownership over like Trump, Trumpism, or Ken Paxton, for example, would be the equivalent of me being like, yeah, you know who my guy is? Michael Bennett. Yeah, it's awesome. Like, the difference ideologically between me and Michael Bennett is the same distance between Nick Fuentes and like any number of different Republican candidates that he says he's on board with. Whereas the distance ideologically between me and Zoran Mamdani is nothing, right? It's it's not nothing, but it's almost nothing, right? Like, there are a lot more people with my politics out there organizing, with our politics out there organizing and winning races than there are with Nick Fuentes' politics running around trying to organize or even winning races. I know this will probably get clipped and will get posted on a show, and he'll cry about this and be like, "Oh, dude, I'm doing warfare against you." Yeah, when he's done crying about Sneeko, maybe he'll engage in warfare against me as well. But the reality of the matter is, regardless of how hard you bought on Rumble, regardless of how much you have like clip farmers that are constantly posting your clips and shit like that, there is a limitation to your ideology. Most people find Nazi politics to be repulsive, even if the Republican Party does actually channel some of the white supremacist aspects, white supremacist qualities. But at the end of the day, I don't think you're going to be able to put out, you know, strong Groyper candidates and have them actually achieve any sort of electoral success. Yeah, but if he just calls himself a base civic fascist, he can claim blue dog Dems, I guess. But yeah, there's also the other element here. And this probably hurts to acknowledge for someone whose primary focus is to be as edgy as possible. So edgy that he'll try to sell like Jeffrey Epstein hoodies and things like that. But he's not seen as like a serious threat. I know Nick Fuentes will turn around and say, I got debanked. I did January 6th, all this stuff. But yeah, again, you latched on to a mainstream movement for a slave to Israel, Donald Trump, who certainly was still enslaved to Zionism in his first term. And you, like the silly little boy you are, went out to do an insurrection, tried to do an insurrection. It was one of the stupidest events in American history. Okay? You tried to tag on. You got punished for it. But at the end of the day, the reason why these institutions don't treat you as a serious threat is because you aren't one. It's not because you have many allies inside in the way that you present it as. It's because you're just not a significant threat to the established hierarchy. There are more intelligent and more competent versions of you that are not stupid enough to say some of the things that you're saying, Tucker Carlson being one of them. Right? That's it. And as far as Asmongold goes, I mean, he's nothing. He's utterly irrelevant. But yeah, I firmly believe that I think white supremacist ideals, maybe this is my least woke quality to say, but white supremacist ideals are only palatable to broader subsects of American society as long as they're not like overt and out there, as long as they are within the permission structure, the permissible bigotry. And Asmongold and Nick Fuentes go far beyond that all the time. Wrong. Asmongold is turning Eastern European and Reform Brits into MAGA. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, yeah. More and more Americans are genuinely organizing in the political realm as self-identifying socialists. But they're not necessarily doing so as self-identifying fascists. You will say that's because, there's too many structural hurdles or limitations or whatever against fascist organizing in this country. But I think deep down inside, you know the reality. It would be like if I coped and said, well, Barack Obama's in favor of the Affordable Care Act, and therefore he's a socialist, actually. He's a socialist president. You know? If anti-Semitism is your highest priority, right? Exposing the international jury is your highest priority, then attaching yourself to hitching your wagon to Donald Trump is a very funny way to express that political ideology. And even when we think about the theory of fascism, fascism works hand in hand with neoliberalism. Some of the most successful implementations of neoliberalism by force has been conducted by fascists like Pinochet, right? So that's it.
Do that, yeah, like a funnel in a way. So that's the reason why I do most things that I do are like there's reasoning behind them.
What needs to come of this is Hasan Piker needs to go to jail. We don't need a White House ballroom. F your ballroom. We need Hasan Piker in jail. This is why we need Hasan Piker in jail. And we need to run that up the flagpole. I want Stephen Miller to go to Kash Patel and say, put Hasan Piker in jail. Blame it on him.
I like that Asmongold is openly admitting that Twitch, like one of the largest Twitch streamers on this platform, is openly saying that he's a funnel for Nicholas Fuentes, an avowed white nationalist neo-Nazi. That's very cool, Twitch. Good job, Twitch. Of course, none of these dumbass institutions that are supposed to be combating extremism give a single shred of a solitary about any of that, because they don't give a about neo-Nazis. They give a about anti-Zionists. They care about people turning on Israel. And many of these guys don't give a shit. They constantly talk about how, oh, we'd be fine with Israel if you just let us deport every brown person, please. Like as though they have any say in the matter. You know? That's the difference. That's it.
Uh-oh. This was last month. Uh-oh. Oh, boy.
It's people like him that are at fault. It's people like him. It's people like him, one of the #1 live streamers in the country, that's saying, here's how to build a bomb.
Yeah, this is also incredibly stupid. Like this is dumber than expected for Nick Fuentes to do this. This is the Canary Mission clip that he's like leaning into. He knows better. I guess he learned that lesson from Candace Owens' popularity and decided to dumb down his, understanding of certain things. I never taught my audience how to build a bomb, you idiot. I would actually be in prison if I did that. Yeah, you might have missed that stream. This centrism fan account. Lol, get this freak out of our country. Oh, talking about Mahmoud Khalil. Dan Goldman's fear mongering. This is about a single door grocery store in Brooklyn. Incredible. Yeah, that's why Nick Fuentes finds himself in collaboration with the likes of Laura Loomer, Randy Fine, the ADL. Because ultimately, he is a reactionary through and through.
Here's how to build a bomb, and if you killed Rick Scott, everyone would have free health care. That guy needs to go to jail. Like, he needs to be denaturalized. He needs to be sent out of the country. This guy. Like, that is something you can serve up to us, and then maybe these people will think twice. You take his citizenship, this anti-American piece of shit. Take his citizenship, send him back to his beloved third world.
Dude, his fake excitement is so cringe. It's actually unbelievable. I think his audience deserves that. If they find this content to be palatable, they are some of the most low IQ parasites I have ever encountered. Well, I don't really usually encounter them in the wild because they don't go outside, but I think his excitement is genuine. I don't think it is. I think he's faking it. He's like, based.
Send him back to Cuba. Send him to Venezuela. Send him packing. He loves Cuba so much. Send him
Why won't he say China?
there. Give him what he wants. Wish granted. And then maybe these other champagne socialists will be a little more careful when they try to.
Again, I'm a class traitor. You're Mexican and a neo-Nazi at the same time. You don't live in that same universe. Your grand design for society does not have a place for you. Okay? Both gay and Mexican and a neo-Nazi, you know, one of these things doesn't work with the other two. You ran into one of them at Edinburgh, didn't you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was that one guy with the mask on. Yeah. Remember, that was huge. He was shaking too. Why does Lily Igla keep hating on you? You both went to Cuba and she's doing the weird pay me. I am more extreme. I don't know what that is. I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't. Sure, they're more extreme than me. You know,
radicalize the next generation to kill
I'm not extreme.
politicians. But that is what you need to do. But nobody cares.
It's crazy. This is the exact shit that I'm exactly. Yep. There you go. Yep.
Hate to tell you that.
Dude, brilliant commentary, man. That's awesome. This guy's got some deep insight, dude. Sometimes I want to just like write down as a transcript what he has said, and he literally has said nothing so far. It's just yep, based, yep. It's awesome.
Nobody cares all that much about any of it.
I know.
Trump doesn't care. Vance doesn't care.
That's right.
Yeah, Trump and Vance don't care about prosecuting a Twitch streamer. Yeah, even they are not that online, it seems. Well, until now.
Stephen Miller doesn't care. Libs of TikTok is a woman.
I mean, need I say more?
She's an idiot. She's a woman. You think she's sitting there thinking about politics? She's thinking about how she looks when she pretends to think about politics. She's caught up in, I'm like a political influencer. Oh my God. These people don't care. They don't care. They're not thinking about it. They're not thinking about these things. And they're not even writing their own stuff. This is why we need a ballroom. Ballroom? Ballroom? Unless the ballroom is a concentration.
Man.
Unless the ballroom is a prison camp, we don't need a ballroom. We need a prison camp. We need a re-education ballroom, a re-education room. Unless the ballroom is super massive so we can support thousands and thousands of ideological prisoners that we could send.
This is weakness. You only talk like this when you recognize your weakness. You can't make anything happen. So you just sit there on your stream and you demand that more powerful institutions do your bidding for you. That's all this is. And the same goes for Asmongold, right? That's why he's increased the intensity in his commentary to be like, yeah, we should put their heads on spikes, dude. It's like, it's just cope. It's just pure fantasy cope. At the end of the day, this administration doesn't give a shit about you either, okay? Doesn't give a shit about your fans. Doesn't give a shit about anyone but themselves. And it's not like the Democrats are all that different either. I mean, at least they have, at least they do the niceties. At least they have the decency not to piss directly on your face and then demand that you thank them for making it rain, right? They go and they piss in the corner and then they blame it on someone else. But this administration doesn't even hide that they are unbelievably corrupt. That's why it's so funny where he's like, yeah, you can build a ballroom as long as you make it into a concentration camp for my ideological enemies on the internet. It's like, this is a childlike way of viewing the world. Okay? You're a child. You still have like this mental stuntedness. Yeah. Make all my enemies that were mean to me feel pain, please. Like you don't get to dictate what Trump does. Trump doesn't give a shit about you. What are you, Benjamin Netanyahu? No, you're not. The increasing popularity of this sort of rhetoric should terrify everyone. Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk is a powerful person. So the fact that Asmongold does actually have Elon Musk's approval, well, that's a little bit damaging, I'll be honest. Fox News tomorrow. Hasanabi mistakes right-wing hero Nick Fuentes as child and can't stop watching him. Isn't Stephen Miller just like that? No, Stephen Miller was shitting on Thomas Massey the other day. He's not the based groiper hero that these dipshits have designed him to be either. None of these guys are. It is also very funny that this guy and his audience are trying to present me as a radical, a dangerous radical terrorist. Yeah. Go talk to the average American about what my final worldview is, what that final product looks like. You know, you say, hey, communism, right? Communism, communism is scary. You're like, don't you feel like it would be better if we just lived in a classless, moneyless, stateless, borderless society? I think most people would be like, you know, that sounds a little scary, but if we could actually arrive at that conclusion, that wouldn't be that bad, right? Probably better than the situation that we're in currently. You know, a post-scarcity utopia that we exist in, where we can just collaborate with one another and expand on our unlimited potential. Nick Fuentes' final solution is purging the American state boundaries of those he has declared lesser than. Black people, brown people, women are relegated to servile status, like brood mares, only there to breed. I don't think that's a really good future, and I don't think that any of the people that you would directly ask if they consider this to be positive would agree with you. They probably look at you like you're a crazy person. I mean, Nick Fuentes himself doesn't have a future in that future that he's designing.
In there by bus.
Oh, man.
Then, we don't need that, actually. We need more detention centers. More detention centers.
Yeah,
why is it that he's the only person that's saying this? Nobody else is saying this. This is satire, right? No. I mean, finally.
More prisons. We're going to need a place where we can put... And I'm kind of joking here. I'm kind of joking a little bit. Print that.
Yeah.
You have to print that or it's libel. I said I was joking.
It's a joke, guys.
You have to print that. I'm kidding. That was a joke. Obviously.
He would never do that.
And you have to print that or else it's libel. Now, obviously, I'm joking when I say that. And you have to say that I said that because I'm joking. However,
but
the spirit of what I'm saying is true. Which is that this is a real crisis. Whatever you want to say, there is a real crisis of left-wing violence.
Yep.
Yup. Based. It's time for the Jube. You were right about a grouper making a new compilation of you, by the way. An AF Post reposted that video because that's where this cycle is coming from. Yeah, I'm always right about that shit. That's why I stay tapped in. And people saying you and him are the same. Yes, there is a crisis of stupidity in this country, unfortunately. And it is non-ideological. It crosses ideological boundaries. Okay? A lot of people think, oh, the crisis of stupidity is just the right. No, the right is very stupid. This is true. But there are plenty of liberals who are stupid as well. There are plenty of people who adorn the mask of being apolitical, who are just like, oh, I'm above it all. I'm in the center. I think both sides are dumb. Oh, politics is dumb. I don't care about politics. Well, politics cares about you. Or rather, politics doesn't care about you. You know? Politics will crush you. And if you don't actually educate yourself and organize against it, you'll never know what is doing the crushing. If you don't educate yourself appropriately, you'll think those who are crushing you, the forces that are crushing you, are the transgenders and the wokes. Or if you go all the way down the right-wing rabbit hole, you think it's the Jews. Nick Fuentes explains why he hates you.
Debanking, hate speech legislation, weaponization of the DOJ. You think going after Hasan Piker sets the precedent?
Yeah, I know. He's going to say this has been the precedent. He's experienced this his whole life and blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, all this shit.
This is the precedent. This has been the precedent. By the way, this has been the precedent for decades. And who set the precedent? Because I seem to recall that it is and always has been the far left that has been advocating for far-right anti-Semites, critics of Israel, fascists,
It's interesting because I've been a critic of Israel for this entire time frame as well. And until recently, I didn't actually receive this level of scrutiny because by and large, I think they were actually actively targeting anti-Semitism. Now, we can talk about whether or not that was appropriate, okay? At the end of the day, your worldview is not only repugnant, not only toxic, but it is objectively violent because, again, my design in society is not one where people have to die or people have to be forcibly removed from wherever they've lived their whole lives. Yours is. Yours requires that. Yours doesn't exist without that. That is the goal that you're moving towards. And in some respects, the administration is already leaning into that sort of stuff regardless. Not because of you necessarily, but because as economic conditions worsen, it's much easier to just like deport a couple 100,000 brown people to offer red meat to dumb like you and many others. Now, obviously, you're in a different predicament. You're in a different situation because you make money off of this, off of your dumbass fans. But those dumbass fans of yours, they're not better off when 100,000 Mexicans are deported. As a matter of fact, they might even be worse off. They just use the reactionary, they fan the reactionary flames to distract the average working class individual. That's it.
National Socialists to be debanked, censored, jailed, the rest of it. Look at the experience of me and this show. Think about Hasan Piker for a moment. He is on Twitch right now. Twitch is owned by Amazon. He's on Twitter with a verified account. He's on Instagram with a verified account. He is on TikTok. He is on YouTube. He is on Spotify. He is on all these services. He has made millions of dollars over the years.
I feel like at a certain point, his audience has to understand that this is, just pure jealousy, right? I feel like he's masquerading this as though he is presenting this as anything but envy, but it feels like it's just envy. And I guess that's another similarity that he shares with Epstein. That's it. Isn't he doing that? You make money as a socialist gotcha? No, he gets into that kind of stuff too. He will use that as a easy remark to get the base excited. He might even be smart enough to understand that it's not inconsistent. Like I've said, I think I hate to even entertain this, but Nick Fuentes, unlike many of his counterparts, has actually read books, at least a couple books. And he does have an ideological worldview. He has a goal that he's working towards. Many of the other guys on the right, they don't do that. they can't communicate, they're not charismatic, they're not funny, and they're certainly not well-read. Okay? So he's smarter than the commentary that he engages in sometimes when he says shit like this. When he's like, oh, you're a socialist, but you're wealthy. He's being honest when he says I'm an America hater and I'm a subversive that needs to be taken care of, that needs to be like cordoned off of society, thrown in jail. Those are the things. Your worldview is violent, so why is he banned but not you, except that he's delusional and you're not a Nazi? Exactly. But that was precisely what I was talking about as well. That's my point. My point is there's a reason why, regardless of the Cold War, you can run around and say, I'm a socialist, but in the aftermath of World War II, you can't say you're a Nazi. And the difference, of course, if you ask Nick, is because international Jewry has rendered Nazism to be the ultimate thing that you can't actually openly advocate for. That's what he will say. He'll point to the Holocaust studies as a department. He'll talk about genocide scholarship and how much of an emphasis that has on the Holocaust. He'll talk about how, Jews are infiltrating Western society, and that's how they made Nazism to be this ultimate dangerous fucking ideology. But the reality is, it is actually a unbelievably violent ideology. There is a difference between a alternative economic organization of society like socialism is, and what socialism represents, to straight up fascism. That's it. One is a death cult.
He's never lost access to a big tech platform or a big tech service like PayPal or Stripe or Uber. Never lost access to the social platforms like YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. In the meantime, literally everybody on the right has had all of that happen to them. And I know because I'm one of them. When right-wing people went to Charlottesville and said Jews will not replace us, and there was a variety of people in attendance. There were immigration restrictionists.
Yeah, I think part of the difference also is that I follow the terms of service, whereas you don't. And when I actually do get, in a heated moment or whatever, I get banned. And oftentimes it's actually people like Nick Fuentes and their fan base that try to spam reports to get me banned. And sometimes they actually do reach a level of success with that. But ultimately, that's the reason. Like, there are genuinely stupid rules that the ADL has deployed on Twitch. Okay? Like not being able to say Zionist and then insert any like animal name or whatever. You can say Nazi pigs. Okay? You can say Islamist pigs. You can say fascist pigs, Republican pigs, Democrat pigs, but you can't say Zionist. Bleep. ADL made it so that it's no longer allowed to say on the platform. And they designed it just for me. And I did get banned for it. Except your fan base actually celebrated that ban. Genuinely, can people like Fuentes be reformed? No, I don't think so. Because he makes money off of being edgy. He makes money off of being a neo-Nazi. It's very difficult for someone to stop what they're doing if this is how they make their livelihood. Nick's trying to rationalize his envy with ideology, so his base will pressure the current journalism society to either elevate his speech to acceptable or to demote your message and speech to be unacceptable like his. Real, if I can't get away with what I want, neither can you type shit. It's pathetic. Yeah, I mean, but that is literally the driving motivator behind Destiny's 6-year-long conquest against me as well. That is genuinely what this is. These guys will f up spectacularly, all on their own. And instead of actually addressing why they f up and learning from that, learning a lesson from that f up, they very quickly turn it around and say, well, this guy does it too. That's where this but Hasan shit comes from. Okay? Destiny will have a court case around revenge porn that he's disseminated, right? To a minor, it turns out. And what did his audience do? They immediately hyper-fixated on anything that they could grab onto to claim I was doing something similar. They couldn't really find one, so they invented it. What do they say? Oh, well, here's this Vogue article or Variety article or whatever where Hasan receives unsolicited nudes in front of a journalist. Okay, don't you think that's the same as distributing revenge porn? No, it's not. Obviously, it's not. What the are you talking about? The problem for them is that most adults can make that distinction. Most adults can understand the difference between those two things. Yeah, even the brothel thing. For years and years, Destiny knowingly has talked about how I went to a brothel, right? It's something that I've talked about personally. Like it went viral. People were really mad. I was talking about sex work in general and how I have no issues with it, whatever, right? And for years and years, Destiny knew knowingly, he knew that the brothel that I went to in 2010, that is still around, by the way, still in operation, is called Artemis in Berlin. It got raided in 2016. And the prosecutors claimed it was raided for sex trafficking. And also for tax evasion. Turns out that wasn't the case at all. Turns out neither of those two things were happening at the brothel, as a matter of fact. And the brothel actually sued the state, the police force, and the city, and won. The brothel won a defamation case. Okay? Destiny knows all of that, and yet he still consistently lies about this. Why does he do that? Because he was in trouble for being a sex pest. Over and over again, he constantly gets into trouble because he has no self-control whatsoever. He's an unbelievably narcissistic person, and the only defense mechanism he has is to project, because he's worried that if his audience hold him to account, then he's not going to be able to defend himself. So he dangles the red meat. He goes, well, what about Hasan? Turns out literally did go to a illegal brothel where women were sex trafficked.
You ever paid for a prostitute before in a legal state?
I don't know if it's legal. I actually did one time very recently here because I was curious. I did one of those massage places or whatever, and I was like, I'm curious what this is like.
Was it just like a sad hand job, or?
Yes, and I tipped really well too because I was like, oh, I've got a lot of money. These girls seem like they don't make much. Like maybe it'll be. Actually, it was horrible.
Was it from like an older woman or?
She was probably like in her 30s or 40s.
You could have picked a better place, I guess.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing it because I'm not going to get caught doing anything illegal. I just wanted to experience it one time. The scenario is actually kind of sad to me. I don't know. I have to pull out my phone and use Google Translate so that this woman understands what I'm saying. It feels like she's some sex slave trafficked in, and it's this is kind of awkward, and I don't feel good about this. And maybe you'll be really good at least at giving hand job. And it's nope, yeah.
Where was she from? What nationality was she?
Chinese.
Oh,
but
interesting.
So it's always projection. It's always projection. So what do? I guess you just keep going. But that's what's going on here as well. A similar vendetta is taking shape here as well, where it's why haven't you been banned like I have for years from all of these platforms? Why have you not been? Why didn't you have to suck Destiny's dick like I did? Say this is Nick Fuentes to reach back out and to regain a platform.
And National Socialists. There were neo-Confederates and white identitarians. There were paleocons. There were people that were there because they were concerned about the Robert E. Lee Monument. You know what happened to those people? Those people were doxxed. They were harassed at their homes. Their families were harassed.
Dog, you did a neo-Nazi rally in Charlottesville. Of course people are going to hate that. You're just, at a certain point, you have to come to terms with the reality that, people don't with Nazis, and that same kind of enmity doesn't exist towards socialists. And it's not because there hasn't been a lot of government intervention in the direction of disrupting socialist organizing. There has been. I would go so far as to say far more consequential disruptions in socialist organizing than fascist organizing in this country. Okay? There were times, and maybe even to this day, there are instances where fascist groups were deployed deliberately, by design, by the state. Or the state turned a blind eye to fascist organizing. Look at the Klan, right? Maybe it's too vulgar for you, that form of fascist organizing. But I guess it's more American and more real and perhaps even more successful than what you're trying to do.
At their homes, they lost their jobs, they lost their Twitter accounts, they lost their bank accounts. They were charged 5 years later under the Biden administration, under the Ku Klux Klan statute in Virginia. The groups that organized it were sued by the far left SPLC. So let me ask you this. When all those far right people that went to that rally, when the government was being weaponized against them, when the big tech billionaires were cracking down on them, when the far left activist organizations with $700 million in offshore bank accounts in the
Southern Poverty Law Center, yeah. The most powerful institution in American society. Anyway. UCLA attack, clear example of turning a blind eye to KKK supremacist activity to punish the left. Yeah. Timestamp of Norm speaking on the far right's
Palestine.
What is this? Sinister plot behind the far right shift on Israel. Norm Finkelstein interview. I'm trying to link up with the boy. I'm trying to link up with Norm as well. I really want to get him on the broadcast. I said I would go to him if necessary. Oh yeah. What's happened to the SPLC is an indicator of how friendly to fascism the country's become. They were a respected, normal legal aid organization, and now they're the way they're attacked. I know. I mean, look. We make no mistake, even if it's not Nick Fuentes' version of fascism, right? We are experiencing a version of fascism right now in America, right? We're not wrapping up. No, I want to watch this Asmongold fan thing that Steven Asarch did, where he interviewed like Asmongold's fans to develop a better understanding of what their appeal is, like where it's coming from. Even NPR had a piece kind of attacking them. Yeah, I think fascism is developing in America. It's just not the anti-Semitic fascism that Nick Fuentes wants. That's why I'm laughing. It's not his version, right? I would even go so far as to say like a Judeo-Christian supremacist version of fascism. It's America and Israel working side by side. Now, this doesn't mean that like all American Christians and all American Jews are involved in this. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it's not the anti-Semitic version of fascism that you're used to. When you think of fascism, you think of the neo-Nazi version or the Nazi version, which is where Jews are the primary vector of ire and one of the main targets. It's not like that.
Is the undisputed Roach King of Twitch.
If I had my way, I would disenfranchise 85% of the population instantly. You cannot trust people that can't come to the conclusion that there are two genders. At the end of the day, they want to come off on the side of illiterate, un-American immigrant Somalians rather than actual Americans.
Every day, tens of thousands of people watch and play video games, doom scroll on X, and talk about politics.
I don't need to understand whatever article you want me to read. All I need to understand is human psychology and incentives.
For the average person that doesn't know much about live streaming or World of Warcraft, they know who Asmongold is because of clips like those.
I don't think that I do have a lack of empathy. It's just that I have a moral compass. It just doesn't point north.
I've been a digital culture reporter for the past decade, studying every facet of Twitch, YouTube, and influencer culture. And I've watched Asmongold go from a fairly small World of Warcraft guide creator into the largest political creator on a lot of platforms.
If I had my way, I would disenfranchise 85% of the population instantly. I would take away their right to vote.
And I wanted to know why. When I watch Asmongold, I just get uncomfortable.
Think about how close Kamala Harris came to winning the presidency, and then tell me that democracy is a good idea.
Things he says are so explicit and over the top that they really don't make sense to me.
Islamophobia is real, actually. It's not. It's not real. Always freak out. Always melt down. Always overreact. And never leave your opponent any breathing room, ever.
So I spent the past 6 months investigating Asmongold, figuring out why people like him. So I went directly to his viewers, a lot of whom I spoke to on X. And
Steven literally, like, he is a reporter. He's a real reporter. He does like culture and tech reporting for Rolling Stone and whatnot. So like, you know, that's the reason why I was going to watch it.
You even agreed to Discord calls with me. What I learned is that the average Asmongold viewer is a complex individual who doesn't understand why the world is the way it is, but blames DEI and women for the problems that they experience. They are full of distrust and hate, but I think there's still hope here, because even in Asmongold's
He should have just ended it there. The average Asmongold doesn't understand what is going on. It's true.
like disgusting diatribe, there are some pieces that I agree with.
$5 or $10 million should be the amount of money that you should be looking at people that have more than that and being like, why aren't you paying more and why aren't you giving out more of your money?
So thanks for coming and welcome to my channel. This is Steven Asarch Talks.
It's a good take. I'm glad that Steven put that in there because that is a part of the complexity argument, because he does actually have populist sentiment on both sides at times. But for every like good take that he has like that, right, that's very appealing to everyone, you know, that has mass appeal, you know, I would say 80% of his commentary revolves around the other dumb shit and hatred. And also, it ultimately doesn't make any sense because he still eats Elon Musk's penis all the time. Like literally nonstop. He's eating Elon Musk's deformed penis with regular frequency. What is this? Ostenox smears? What? I missed it. Ostenox and I have made this for you regarding the smears. Oh. Yeah,
again,
we'll look
whenever
at it.
you have somebody, I saw his tweet, 4,000 followers journalist crashing out because Asmongold fans don't want to talk. What's this? Let me pull it up. About a month or so back, I asked any Asmongold fans to meet me in the real world. What?
They have like a perception of him like he's like some sheltered hermit, like Jedi wizard that knows everything in the world, despite him not actually interacting with it.
I genuinely believe there are people here for his gaming takes, and I'm so worried that they're getting radicalized by Twitch's most powerful.
It's the Roosevelt quote. The reactionary is always willing to take a progressive attitude on any issue that is dead. The moment there's a chance it'll pass, he'll flip. Beautiful.
And least research streamer. Let's go ahead and research. Let's look this person up and see what they've said about me.
Yeah, it would be poor research because he's not doing any research at all. He's literally just picking up a video and watching it.
So there's not even a single actual criticism that this person has for me.
When I hear Asmongold saying, you know, provocative, intense things like, I don't know, certain groups of people need to be put in a mental institution, or if he doesn't express that much empathy for people dying, you know, things like that. I'm not listening because I necessarily share that exact belief system as he does.
I don't have to go for trust, and I don't write hit pieces. I try to write my stories from a place of understanding. The understanding is basically saying that I'm an edgelord and I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay,
but that's true. So he did do his research. You're just mad. Like, that's literally just true. This is not even an ideological disagreement that I have, and I think he's being fairly favorable here in this video as well, where he says that you're a complex individual. But you have openly admitted this. You literally say you don't do research. You don't have to do research. You don't have to read. All you need is game theory or a deep understanding of how human beings operate by self-interest.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, obviously nobody's going to engage with that. Definitely.
So who is Zach Hoyt, known as Asmongold? Born in Austin, Texas in 1990, Asmongold grew up in relative poverty with two parents who really struggled to get by.
Things could have been worse for me, but yeah, we were very poor. Like, she made under poverty like every year, basically. I grew up in a house where my mom never really had a job, and we grew up in poverty. And my dad helped me out a bit, and he made sure that the lights stayed on, but that was about it.
He was obsessed with video games from a young age. In a rare interview from 2016, he tells a story of how he was running around with his friends pretending to be Halo Spartans, and that's where the name came from, and it just stuck. Asmongold never really wanted to do anything in life. He never really had any aspirations for anything grander than what he had.
I think the biggest indictment here is that he looks positively British in more ways than one. he's literally just British. Maybe that's why the reform UK lads like this guy. They see a proper lad, a Angloid, down to the teeth. You're definitely banned from the UK now.
Describes his existence is just something that he did in order to get by. Video games were his main focus, and he wanted to do anything so that he didn't have to get a real job.
That was one of the reasons why I didn't have a job, is I didn't want one. Like, all I really wanted to do was collect government welfare and jerk off and play video games.
And as a dork slash nerd slash gamer myself, it's something I entirely understand. I got started in journalism writing guides for League of Legends because I didn't want to have to actually work. So I entirely relate to Asmongold on that point. Asmongold had a few jobs. He worked for the IRS and a few other smaller places. But his real love was World of Warcraft. It was a game that he dedicated his whole life to. He became one of the best warriors in the entire game and decided it would be a good idea to post YouTube guides on how to be the best warrior and stuff like that. His channel
Yeah, he did. He worked for the IRS. Yes, it's true.
gained some success, but not too much. He was still very niche for a while.
I was making WoW YouTube videos, and then they said you should stream, and then I started streaming. That's exactly it. It worked really well. It did. I mean, my stream popped off immediately. Like, I immediately started doing well, and so like I was like totally locked in on this. That's all I would do.
But after enough time on YouTube, he was able to make enough to survive.
Is that the reason why I dropped out? Is that I was making $1,500 a month, and I was like, okay, well, I can make a living on $1,500 a month. Why would I need more than $1,500 a month?
It wasn't until 2019 when World of Warcraft
Care to explain us on? Oh yeah, I saw this. Very fitting for the guy who helped Trump win in 2024 to have a 2020 MAGA hat. Leftists are just MAGA. And then this guy responded, not many people caught this at the time, but here's Hasan showing his true colors, secretly signaling that he's a MAGA supporter. And then this guy goes, I know you're trying to trivialize the situation, but to anyone outside of Hasan's base, this joke doesn't land when he didn't everything in his power to help MAGA win. And then he responded with, you're absolutely right. I've also noticed that a lot of people who actually watch his coverage of the election have no idea how much he was helping Trump. It almost felt like he wasn't helping Trump at all. It almost felt like he was criticizing Trump, but I'm going to take your word for it, Sire Rottweiler. No, this person is obviously with him, dude. What do you mean? He's literally saying, yeah, he was so good at hiding that he was helping Trump that no one got it.
Warcraft Classic came out, which took the game back to its roots of just endless grinding, where you don't need to accomplish anything in your life. You just need to play World of Warcraft all day. That Asmongold really soared in viewership. He became the main World of Warcraft streamer, and his audience ballooned in popularity.
You have a vermin problem? Hi.
A lot of people found him during this time, including
Alan Hawkswood,
a 43-year-old Australian who loved World of Warcraft.
I don't necessarily watch all his videos. I kind of dip in and out. Look, I think in a lot of I probably didn't watch him for the first few years. It's probably only really after he became big.
Alan, we spoke for about 40 minutes and seemed like a very lonely man. He has people he knows from work, but all of his friends are people he knows online.
I have very small friend group of true friends that I've been with for 20 plus years, but that is essentially the only friends I really have. Alan
says he lives like Asmongold, a fairly gross individual. I think, you know, he made jokes at the time about having a dead rat that would smell when the sun came up, so he knew it was time to wake up.
The thing is, I used to use a dead rat as an alarm clock, actually, for my stream, because basically what happened was whenever the sun would come up, it would start cooking the corpse of the rat.
And he had bits of blood smeared on his wall from his poor hygiene, and his room was relatively disgusting.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I essentially live the same way.
Oh, God, this is... Okay, this is a little bit like confirmation bias for me, but I mean, this is literally what I have suspected all along, which is that Asmongold... Remember, I had this conversation with Felix when we were talking about the evolution of reactionary thought and the evolution of reactionary content. At some point, it went from like contentious politics, Ben Shapiro doing debates, intellectualism, to aspirational politics with the likes of Andrew Tate, which was no longer about you know, trying to engage in any sort of like pseudo intellectual representation of your ideas. Okay. And the final evolution is representational politics. A lot of people like Asmongold, regardless of the fact that Asmongold is a multimillionaire, numerous business owner, right? He owns multiple businesses and makes tens of millions of dollars a year, right? For a lot of people, they look to Asmongold as a hero because they're like, oh my God, he made it while also being a schlub, like also being kind of disgusting. Like he lives like a depressed agoraphobic. And a lot of people in his fan base are depressed agoraphobics who look to Asmongold as like this beacon, this hero, this representation.
I can see, 5 cans, empty cans right now, 2 coffee bottles, there's clothes on the floor, what's the name? I'm a messy person, so I don't judge him for his hygiene.
I don't take pride living in garbage or not. It's simply something that I don't care about.
He lives in squalor and hates immigration, which he says doesn't make him a bad person. It's because he's Australian.
What's that place with the kangaroos? They couldn't get rid of them. What's it called? Not Arizona. It's something like that. Australia.
Things like the Great Replacement Theory / replacing the population obviously appeals a little bit more to me because I believe it is a possibility for us, unfortunately.
But he's also pro-fascism.
I think, once again, as you said, the pro-fascism. But once again, in Australia, in certain regards, I still believe 100% we need fascism.
Now, how did we arrive at this worldview from being an Asmongold watcher? That's crazy. Bogan bro. Bogan bro.
And Asmongold was just there for him. He watched him multiple hours a day while he was working. Asmongold was just part of his life.
I am very different to a lot of normal people. His political takes, in a sense, I probably agreed with, say, 90% of them. In a sense, he became a news source.
In a world where streamers were standing in like fancy houses and being superstars, there was Asmongold sitting in his filth, talking about how he just wants to play World of Warcraft all day and hang out. The money and the fame never got to him. He's still the same disgusting gremlin that he was when he was still making just a few guides for a few $1,000s.
See, but he doesn't have to wear the I'm holier than thou veneer because
it's aesthetics. See? I clocked this. Remember, I told you, his fan base associates his nastiness with relatability and also decency. Like their brains are so rewired and so busted in many respects that they think people fall for this grift and call him an everyday man. Yeah, be Asmongold, eat beef jerky for 2 square meals, eat fast food for dinner, top it off with ice cream, fall asleep in your chair, watching anime. That's why he's popular. He's the modern everyman. Yeah. They associate his horrifying hygiene habits with authenticity. When in fact, maybe it is authentically himself. Maybe he's just a nasty little pervert, right? Whatever. Okay? Who knows? To each their own. But he is unbelievably out of touch. And if you see yourself in this authentically degenerate person, then you probably are unbelievably out of touch as well. This is the problem. But they think, oh, he's just like me. He lives just like me. He doesn't care to generate more value. He's not greedy, you know? He's a regular guy. He's just like me. It's like, bitch, you're not a regular guy. How do you not understand this? You're not a regular guy. If you live like Asmongold, you're not regular, okay? You're irregular. It's not a normal way to live. You need to snap out of it. Like this is, depending on the level of depression and anxiety you're probably experiencing on a daily basis, you might need medical intervention. You know what I mean? It's not normal. But on the internet, it is. Because who spends the most amount of time on the internet? who is more likely to create an account that says Christian father, husband, and shit poster in that order, daka, like a white nationalist anime account, right? A guy who is like Asmongold, an irregular person, because regular people are not doing this shit. And that's precisely the reason why the internet is inundated with irregular folks. And what is irregular in the real world becomes very regular on the internet. And that actually has a damaging cycle that it creates as well, where because everyone is increasingly more online, this might actually end up reproducing more people like this, and maybe at a certain point turn this irregularity into a regularity. Does that make sense?
Because of obviously he lives in squalor, doesn't turn around and say, you know, I'm better than you.
After his 2019 explosion, Asmongold started to diversify into different spaces. He co-founded OTK with a few of his friends, and Mythic Talent, a talent agency. He started...
Wait, that sort of executive dysfunction is not the sort of thing you snap out of. If we had universal services, we would have had help and been a totally different person. No, I know. But I'm saying that these guys don't even see anything at odds with that. They think this is a healthy and normal way to live. And Asmongold does have the capacity. You're talking about a guy who makes like $10 million a year. Again, owns 5 businesses. Like, he's not like his fan base. His fan base might not recognize that there's an issue there. Okay? Asmongold has all of the capacity to fix everything, and he just chooses not to.
A podcast and really started to expand outside of just his niche and really exploded in 2022.
I lived like that for 5 years, undiagnosed and untreated neurodivergence and task paralysis. It was years of you saying exercising could build my confidence back up. That's right. That's why I try to you know, be a better example for the people that are watching. He literally does say he's better than you if you're brown. Also, Asmon did have state help. He was on Snap. He's just insane. He's received state help and talked about how his family needed it to survive. Yeah, I know. And now he just, you know, makes money, tens of millions of dollars every year, denying it to others.
During the Amber Heard trial, when all of these commentary streamers were reacting every single day to what was going on with Amber Heard because they desperately needed content and they didn't want to have to think for themselves.
Here we go. Let's do it. Oh my God.
I caught the most strays out of this, even though I had the most balanced take where I was just like, I don't like either party involved here. And everybody still yells at me when virtually every content creator in the entire internet was primarily on Johnny Depp's side. And once again, the one that was like, I don't like either of these people. I think they're both weird. Every person was like, you're the reason. And they will. Now they'll latch onto it and they'll yell at me even further. It's crazy. See, people still do it. Nah, you were wrong on that one. Sorry. Okay, Amber Heard is the victim here. Yes, Johnny Depp is bad. I don't even like Johnny Depp. I hate Johnny Depp. I don't care. I have no dog in this fight.
This is bad, man.
Lots of different content creators, including people who had never covered anything remotely like this before, all started covering this at the same time.
It was so funny because I also covered it the least out of everyone. Everyone would do wall-to-wall coverage every single day. And I didn't, because there was real news going on.
From the position of that narrative and getting millions of views from it.
This is not your home, invader.
Zenbane found Asmongold through these Amber Heard clips.
I wasn't even watching the trial. I thought the whole concept was stupid myself when I had heard that it was, you know, people were watching it. But I just happened to click on it. I think it was because the thumbnail or something just kind of caught my attention. You know, it was good clickbait, I suppose. I don't know. His reactions were funny. Watching Johnny Depp, the way they clipped him was funny.
Zenbane said his great-great-great-grandmother was a school teacher in Mexico, and she came here properly. So she's a good immigrant. But all these bad immigrants, they're the problem. They're the ones causing our world to get worse.
She didn't come here jobless and try to live here, you know, illegally. There is no illegal immigration in my family. And this might even be controversial to say, but any disparity we're going to feel throughout life, that it's going to come more so from our own people than from someone outside of our culture. So, but essentially, if we define what happens when we say that was racist, right? Someone says a bad slur, someone beats you up, or just someone prevents you from advancing in life at a job. Like any of those things you're going to experience, we're going to, as Hispanics, we're going to most likely experience those more from other Hispanics than from someone who's black or white.
He described Asmongold as a street preacher.
You know, I'm going to use Hasanabi as an example. He's more like trying to come across like the Pope. Everyone should listen to me. Whereas Asmongold is the wacky homeless guy on the side of the road, you know, holding the mic, holding the Bible, and just screaming his interpretation of the Bible.
I think after
I like this guy going, yeah, you know who I think, like even in his worldview, I know he's trying to use that as a negative. Like he's saying, I'm the negative force here. But yeah, I think the Pope would be more knowledgeable on Catholicism than the random street preacher who's, by your own words and your own estimation, the crazy one. But that's wild. Like he just dropped that as like Hasan is annoying because he is the Pope in this equation, a position of authority he has. And I hate that shit. I choose voluntarily to listen to the guy who is not knowledgeable and genuinely insane. He said, between the Pope and the hobo, I'm getting my Christianity from the hobo. Look, maybe I'm weird, and I recognize that. But I believe that we have a finite amount of time on God's green earth, okay? So if I'm putting information into my brain, there are moments where I'm looking for entertainment, certainly, right? I watch anime, I watch movies, I listen to comedy podcasts every now and then. But if I'm listening to something to develop a better understanding of it, I'm definitely not going to a guy that I'm going to self-describe as a crazy person. Okay? I don't see any utility in that at all. I don't have time to just sit there and listen to what Asmongold has to say because I know he doesn't know anything. And I genuinely can't comprehend why people do that. Like I'll watch valuetainment, right? I watch bad shit. But oftentimes I watch it to derive some satisfaction out of it, just to like make fun of it or to make content for you guys to consume or to sometimes directly tackle the ideas that they're representing, to develop a deeper understanding of what the oppositional figures are saying and thinking. There's a utility for it, right? But in my own spare time, I'm never going to sit around and listen to like Asmongold because I know he doesn't know what the he's talking about. So I cannot comprehend why other people do this. Then why the fuck are you watching a video about him right now, Lamau, this bozo? See, this is what I mean. This is the mindset of the average Asmongold fan. I just described why I'm watching oppositional figures. Like in the process of me describing to you why I would be watching a video like this one, which is not Asmongold, mind you. I'm watching a actual tech reporter who's a fairly smart guy do a deep dive and analysis into why Asmongold's fandom is invested in Asmongold. And you're so stupid that you can't even comprehend that. Even if I was just straight up watching an Asmongold video, I just explained to you why I would be doing that in this very moment. Okay? Ask Chatter about his dad. I have a theory. This Chatter can't handle my swag. You're underestimating how stupid the average person is. I know.
After Amber Heard, Asmongold sort of felt invulnerable. Like he could say anything and get away with it because his community absolutely loved it. If you look at during this time, he starts working with Clippers to grow into a massive phenomenon. Every single one of his YouTube videos were pulling in millions of views. So his streams were getting tens.
Hasan met with Jodie Evans, wife of Neville Roysingham, a financist of CCP-related agencies. Disgusting. He's lying, Lamar. Iran still reports some stuff, but limits inspections and gatekeeps access. So the International Atomic Energy Agency doesn't fully know what's going on. They have literally 24/7 camera access, or had. Ask this R-word, why would China sacrifice its biggest market, US and Europe, for an unwanted war? They're focused on internal development. That's why they're extracting minerals all over the world. Wait, is he I can't tell. He hates China, but he's at least somewhat knowledgeable about China. But he says words like financist. The Financist by Francis Ford Coppola. Lil Clav update. He's detransitioning. Yeah, I saw. YouTuber Clavicular has gone 4 weeks without testosterone trying to recover his fertility, and people can't believe how different he already looks. He's detransitioning. The world's first male-to-male detransitioner. I've told you this. This is MTM trans, like for sure. MTM D-trans. I think he got mogged too hard. He got mogged so hard, he was just like, F it, I'm out. I'm done. What's the purpose? Dude, the judge mogged him so hard in the courtroom, it made him reconsider everything. He's like, F this. What's the goddamn point, dude? I've been putting a hammer to my face nonstop, and then I walk up to a courtroom and some random sexy judge destroys me. Yeah, it was fatally mocked. He sentenced the beta dumb. The judge hit the gavel, said, "You got 4 years of being beta, bitch."
Thousands of views, and then his YouTube videos were getting even more views, and he just grew and grew from there. But eventually, all of that incredibly toxic diatribe leaked out of his community into the wider space. In 2024, he was banned from Twitch for a brief period for describing Palestinians as
terrible people. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways.
From there, he did apologize somewhat, saying,
I said something about it that was disgusting. I think that I've been slowly devolving into the most mean-spirited...
I like that he had like a second and a half of introspection and then quintupled it down in ways that one could have previously never foreseen. Like he literally had 1 week of being like, yeah, I think this politics stuff is just making me really like a bad person. And then he was like, actually, I really enjoy the amount of love and admiration I receive from people who live in identical conditions to me all around the world. So I'm going to keep doing that.
I don't really even know what the word is for it. Just like the most mean-spirited, rude, like nasty, like just callous, psychopathic version of myself. I think that I've been devolving into that.
Since then, Asmongold has basically proven that he's learned nothing. He is just saying whatever the hell he wants. Asmongold's cut ties with OTK and Mythic, though he did clean his room.
And clean out the entire thing. Clean out everything. Clean out like all the desks. I even got the vacuum cleaner.
But around this time is when I really started to have a fascination into Asmongold. I kept seeing all of those clips, all of those horrifying things he says.
Say it the way I think it is. That's it. I say it the way it is. Anybody thinks I'm racist out of their mind. So if they think that, they're crazy. Who cares? What you're saying is very true. People are going to take this out of context, turn it into something to name. Good, I'll look forward to it. It's a new YouTube video for me tomorrow.
His lines on what is fair and what isn't are really confusing. Weirdly enough, he does believe that a universal basic income is a good thing and that you should help the poor.
I think it's okay if they want to buy cookies with food stamps because in my opinion, it's just cookies, man. Let a person have a little bit of dignity.
He doesn't like immigrants. He doesn't like people. He doesn't care for anyone that is outside of his own bubble.
The West has a huge problem that we have an infection and we refuse to admit that there's a problem. There is clearly a problem, there is clearly an affliction, and there is also clearly a solution. But they don't want to talk about that because it might make them feel bad. That has to stop.
And when you're watching someone 8 hours a day, that sort of diatribe really infects who you are as a person. So I decided I needed to figure out who watches Asmongold. So in December of 2025, I put out a tweet saying, if you live in New York City, I would love to talk to you. And I got hundreds of responses, all of which said, Absolutely not. Some of them said I was trying to make a trap, that I was going to record them, even though I said it was going to be an off-the-record talk. I just wanted to figure out who they were, and they all hated the idea so much. I also got a lot of valuable answers. People seem to love Asmongold because they love to spend time with someone who is genuine. The fact that he is someone real, that he is someone you can hang out with, that he doesn't seem like he's faking it. And I don't necessarily believe that's a...
Look, he's a standard caricature of a gamer, not some LA yacht streamer. Whenever he starts talking politics, though, I tune it out. This YouTuber got him. He mentioned he felt inferior by sucking at Elden Ring, which made him into a white supremacist. No, I think he was kind of there. And then he got a little taste of the clout with the Amber Heard saga, and then he just kept going.
A good thing for a content creator, because those people may not have your best interest.
While I'm not in New York City, obviously I'll tell you why people might feel that way. Whether they agree or not, he doesn't sugarcoat how he feels. He's blunt and totally honest. I'll be honest myself. I hate a lot of what he says, but he still managed to get me to watch regardless.
It's hard. I don't think Asmongold has...
I'm willing to bet every single person that wrote this under that comment has deep, tremendous disdain for me. For a lot of these guys, like, their understanding of politics ends and begins with content creators on the internet. There is no worldview beyond it. There is no politics beyond it. It's just like, I hate Hasan. I love Asmongold. I love Asmongold. I hate Hasan. That type of shit.
Anyone's best interest at heart other than himself. He just...
Like us? Buddy, my community despises when I cover Asmongold for more than 3.5 minutes. This is the first time I've watched a long, extensive Asmongold video. This community doesn't give a about Asmongold. Are you insane? At most, sometimes when he says some heinous shit, we cover it. But more often than not, throughout the entire day, we're just talking about the news. Like, I just interviewed a candidate running for Senate for an hour and a half. What are you talking about? And when you say us, I suspect you're not even a fan. You're just in here LARPing as a fan. Like us, first comment. I understand the space that I occupy, okay? I understand I have a very clear-cut purpose, a very clear-cut goal, an agenda, okay? I have a worldview. I'm not shy about explaining what my worldview is, and I bake it into all the news coverage that I do throughout the day. I see my role, my job, my responsibility as someone who is going to navigate the world of news every single day for whoever wants to come in here and learn what the f*** is going on. Okay? That's it. That's my job. There are, of course, instances where I'll dive into silly shit, meme around, make jokes, maybe even play a video game every now and then, every 8 months or so. But through thick and thin, through the highs and the lows, whether people are watching or whether people are not paying attention, I'm always in here covering the day's news every single day, right? That's what I'm doing.
Wants to be able to, like, live how he wants to live. The money he makes means nothing to him.
I got a 1099 and it was like millions of dollars. I don't even know where it came from.
You probably have $6 to $8 million left after taxes.
More than that, probably. A lot more than that.
Really?
But
he doesn't want to grow off of it. He just wants to, like, exist and, again, not have to work. And the people who watch him, I think, feel similarly. They just want to be able to watch and not think and just hang out. So about a month after I do that tweet, I put out another tweet, which is basically my thoughts on Asmongold. I will let Asmongold read my tweet, so I don't have to.
About a month or so back, I asked any Asmongold fans to meet me in the real world. What? But none of them took me up on the offer. Instead, I got hundreds of replies and messages saying that I didn't understand them, how I should just watch the streams and not the clips. So I did, and I learned that Zach doesn't care. He'll put out a video that he doesn't understand the full context of and rant about it with extreme right-wing bias. It's vitriol for 6 hours straight. Oh. A hand-picked selection of clips designed to invoke anger without critical thinking. I genuinely believe there are people here for his gaming takes, and I'm so worried that they're getting radicalized by Twitch's most powerful and least researched streamer.
He read it on stream and was quite pissed.
This guy is like, he's randomly trying, meet me in real life. Yeah, obviously, random people don't want to meet some dumbass in real life. Let's see what this guy's saying about me.
And then his fans came after me hard. They were ready to, call me all sort of names. But out of that tweet, I managed to get conversations going with a few actual Asmongold fans. People who agreed that, hey, maybe it's a good time to kind of leave the echo chamber. Because Asmongold believes that you should stay within the echo chamber.
So the problem that I have is that whenever I want to interact with somebody, or somebody wants to interact with me, usually that's like a non-starter because I don't want to talk to anybody. What's a good time for you? Never. Never. That's the answer. Never.
Whenever Destiny or Hasan want to debate him these days, he turns it down because the idea of having your views questioned is completely unacceptable to Asmongold.
Oh, yeah.
I have no obligation to do any.
And it's really funny because like Destiny fans will say this about me as well. And it's like, no, I just don't want to be around Destiny. I talk to people that I disagree all the time. I do debates in public. I go outside. I do debates that I set up ahead of time with people like Sean Hannity, and then they escape me. I'm setting one up with Van Jones. I just don't want to be anywhere near that weirdo. But I'll debate anybody else pretty much.
And there are some people.
He doesn't want to debate anybody. He doesn't want anyone to question him at all.
That think that.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk dodged me too. So does Sean Hannity. It's up.
Because I disagree with you so much, you have some kind of like obligation to 1v1 me or something.
I do think if you do political commentary, I think this would be one of the laws I would enforce. You should have an obligation to have some kind of confrontational discourse. It can't just be that everybody can go run off into their own corners and construct their own realities. That's just crazy to me. I don't think it's acceptable.
Yeah. No.
He wants to exist in this world, and he wants to be that sort of guy that doesn't have his stuff questioned. He wants to exist in the filth. Throughout all these conversations and all these tweets, what I learned is that the average Asmongold fan just wants to live in their own echo chamber. They just want to relate to a guy who they feel is like them. I don't want to make fun of these people, but the first openly said how much he loves fascism. The second one was a fourth-generation Mexican immigrant who believes that immigration is a bad thing. And the third made me a whole PowerPoint about Hasan's armpits.
Who am I? None of your business.
Black Druid, he reached out to me with extreme animosity and really was like, I'm gonna own this guy. He gave me a list of 5 rules.
Oh my God, brother, what? This is, I told you. It's like, there are entire circles on the internet where they just sit around and have psychosexual, pathological obsessions with what they perceive I'm doing on a daily basis. It is such a strange way to live. These are the great names you click, by the way. No, I know. Asmon said he's the only one being fair to you about the subpoena thing. Wait, what? He literally was giddy at the prospect of me going to prison forever. He's like, finally, someone's demanding it. What the is he talking about?
Before we even spoke, including I could not asking his name or any personal information, which is pretty hard for an interview because that's kind of the whole point. But once we got talking, it got even stranger.
Asmongold isn't a right-winger. He's been, as far as I've watched, going back all the way to the Dark Soul days, he's always been left-wing. If you want, I'm just going to send a quick photo to you so you can just take a look.
Oh my God, another European. Wait, what the Bro, you're just mentally ill. You're like a mentally ill Euroid chud. You need to stop. Bro, you have socialized medicine, okay? I can hear it in your accent. Go to the hospital. Check into the hospital, big dog. What the are you doing? You're not even taking advantage of it. Again, if you want to argue on whether or not Asmongold is left-wing, just argue on the policies that he advances, that he advocates for. Why do you have to compare him to me? Like, this is betraying the entire project. Like, you basically give the game away. Your entire understanding of the world revolves around Twitch streamers, man. You're obsessed? Me? Or are you talking to the guy who made a unprompted PowerPoint when a journalist was trying to identify like what people like about Asmongold. And he immediately started talking about why Asmongold is leftist. Look, here's the leftist that he is exactly like. Uh-oh, scatter.
Had created an entire PowerPoint where he showed why Hasan is worse than Asmongold. Because Hasan had a horse growing up, and Asmon was the goated Chad who lived in squalor. These were benefits to him. Black Druid giggled when I used the term POC. Get that there are like POCs in media?
Sorry, can you say that again?
There are POCs in media?
POC.
That's a person of color.
I'm not sure if you know, but I'm brown myself, so I'm not really sure what you were expecting. But let's move on.
And believes that DEI is what is killing video games, and went on a long rant about.
I know for a fact that if they were to appeal to like this woke ideology, they also lose a lot of money. Like you can look at the video game, for example, Dragon Age. I would actually assume that a lot of men have felt attacked by journalists that basically their whole space of the gaming sphere, because they've catered to the woke crowd, they've lost billions. We can just talk about Conquered if
Bro, he thinks he's cooking. He thinks he's literally cooking right now. He's like, well, let me tell you, the DEI has destroyed the video gaming. Listen, I'm a brown Euroid. I bet you are confused that a brown man could be a racist. Well, be confused no longer. That's right. Oh, that's right. Checkmate, libtard. I bet you're scared I said such an edgy word, libtard.
Example as well. Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? It's an ideology that I believe, let's just take it out, right? Let's take out all the politics, okay? Or let's just say that it's an ideology that loses money. Is that a fair assessment that we can both agree on?
No. I'm not getting into any of that sort of stuff in this video. There are plenty of other YouTube videos on the internet that are gonna do that for me. So I'm just gonna kind of explain, what these people are kind of thinking.
Sorry, I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Turns out going outside was a terrible idea. I've also let the place get a little messy, but I thought that was kind of appropriate for what we're talking about today. This video has pushed me to my absolute limit. My YouTube recommended feed has been absolutely destroyed. It is just full of Asmongold videos now. And now I see his hair and teeth whenever I close my eyes or go to sleep. DEI and woke just fill my every moment. But it hasn't all been bad. There have been a few bright spots in this production. Alan recently beat cancer and said that his opinions on Asmongold have shifted, mainly because of Asmon's takes on the Iran war.
So when you first talked to me and talking about Asmon, I'm not 100% sure where that was in general, because that was a couple of months ago. But with this latest Iran stuff, he is just following the narrative, which is America good and we're the best type thing. And I'm like,
Wait, remember, Alan literally said he's a fascist. So there's a high likelihood that he no longer with Asmongold as much because he just only watches Nick Fuentes. Yes. Alan the Australian, I don't think he's salvaged himself. Maybe he has. We'll hear what he has to say. Or he could have just moved on to someone who is at least a little bit more knowledgeable about what's going on, although they are still a fascist, right? Almost jail time, buddy. Yeah, bro. Even whether I go to jail or not, you're still a loser, okay?
Yeah, nah.
But the reality is that you have to also look at why are people oppressed. And in some cases, there's a good reason why they're oppressed, and you should probably oppress them even more. They deserve it. And I think that Iran's a good example. Same with criminals, stuff like that, shoplifters.
I feel it's more about keeping the audience that he wants.
And I think that the moment that American bombs start dropping, the moment that American soldiers get involved, now it's no longer the Iranian revolution, it's the regime change that was basically...
Dude, he was so... That's the other thing that also annoys me. Like, I understand why a lot of people were very mad at me and they never let it go when I was wrong about Russia will never invade Ukraine, even though my analysis, I still stand by it, was sound. And I was literally, you know, getting my notes from Ukrainian resources on the ground who also didn't think that it was, you know, convincing enough, that it was something Vladimir Putin is crazy enough to commit to. I was wrong. Okay. I apologized. We moved on. But these guys are so consistently wrong all the time. And yet no one actually goes, dude, what the you are genuinely leading me astray. They're perfectly happy being wrong. Okay? They're perfectly happy living in the wrong universe. And whenever the truth contradicts what they assume is happening or what they assume is going to happen, they don't just go, where am I getting this bad information from? They just move along. I don't know how you can live like that. I don't know how you can actually consistently feed yourself bad information, right? Doesn't make any sense. Remember the amazing Asmon take that people would get bored with this Israel stuff? Yeah, he was wrong on that too. Or even like Sex Pestiny. Epstein is a big like wrong bet kind of guy too. He just was consistently wrong on the Israel issue and he's just never let it go. He just constantly, he's found himself deeper and deeper in a hole on this Israel stuff and on numerous other occasions as well. Like, you know, Joe Biden shouldn't drop out or, you know, Kamala Harris is going to win and we can actually cast aside this lefty nonsense. And like, we should actually purge the left from the party, from the ranks of the party, all this stuff. Like, and there is a legion of like cult followers basically that are just, they live in this stupor. They live in this environment where they're just wrong all the time and they're unbelievably loud while they're wrong all the time. I don't understand it. I don't get it. If I was going to a single resource for all of my information, yeah, Mamdani won't win, all this shit. But if I was going to a single resource for all my information and that single resource was consistently wrong in their analysis, in their prediction, all this shit, I would probably, yeah, I mean, here's another great example. Another one of his orbiters. Kamala aggressively courting moderates with the rhetoric in his speech at the ellipse. You absolutely love to see it. I feel extremely confident that the strategy will ultimately prove itself to be a right move come election day when we see margins of indies and R's. Victory needs to come first, and this current electorate is definitely not asking for a Bernie Sanders approach to government. Do what needs to be done in order to win. We have zero options without victory. Is the reason you're actually live after 5 because you're trying to farm PBSOs for the pedo admin, bring the hammer down? You got to start saving for legal fees? Yeah, no. I'm just back home. Like, I think there's a difference in like David Pakman's audience, for example. David Pakman's audience is like more adult and actually going to David Pakman to get information. So David Pakman lost a lot of subscribers in the aftermath of the election because people were like angry at him. They felt like he had actually led them astray, right? Because David Pakman, regardless of our ideological differences, regardless of our you know, worldviews, has an audience that is there to like learn about the world, has an audience that isn't there just to like lean into internet drama or whatever kind of idiotic thing that Asmongold or Destiny covers in general. That's the case. And that's why I think his adult audience was like, this sucks. Chatter's viewership goes down when we talk about him. He doesn't care, Lamont. What?
Facilitated by America.
Zenbane said he's actually super excited for this video to come out, and Black Druid doesn't seem to hate me as much. He's sent me very long rants, including a few heart emojis. But I think the thing that's made me most optimistic working on this project was meeting Charles A. Hurley, a 23-year-old who first started watching Asmongold when he was 16 or 17.
Amidst the flames,
only we shall remain.
When I got into WoW Classic, I also got into his content a lot more, where he starts to grow on me, where he had like this resonance of like relatability.
His cousin had introduced him to Asmongold because they were both playing World of Warcraft Classic, and he got really into Asmon. He became really excited and energized by Asmon's content.
He started becoming a bit of a comfort for me back then. I used to like watch a lot of his VODs for hours on end, like usually on like when I'm playing other games, I always have him on the background. Just feels like you're kind of like committed into like something bigger with him.
He became watching and obsessing, wanting to know what made Asmongold so good at the games he played.
I used his mannerisms to like bleed into like my own personal life. The idea of like becoming something more, like the idea that was implanted into my head. Well, just becoming like, as I thought before, like someone like him, like well regarded or well like spoken, just like well accomplished, or like have like dreams of becoming the next Asmongold. Oh God, that's so cringe of me to think about that. But
he started to copy his mannerisms because he thought it would make him a better player in the video game that he really loved, Star Wars: The Old Republic. He started to take the game as seriously as Asmongold was. But he was also copying Asmongold's mannerisms out of game. He was saying whatever he wanted. He was becoming more aggressive, and he was really pushing himself to his limits, really dedicating himself to the craft of playing video games. He also became really obsessed with anti-woke content.
Star Wars, not Knights of the Old Republic.
It's such a simple concept. Like, oh, you used to believe that, oh, well, we just want better games instead of the wokeism stuff. And then you have, like, pretty much all these contents. And back then, it really worked back then. It's just like, you can just click immediately since you're, like, pretty much so attached to that person, you don't even want to go.
But throughout all of this, he felt that watching Asmongold was making him a worse person.
Yeah, I got some like exceptional highs, but I got into like exceptional lows.
It started to influence his non-gamer life, pushing away his friends and family.
Pretty much ruined relationships, or even close ones like family, friends, or pretty much even like relationships with partners.
But it was hard to quit Asmongold because Asmon was good at WoW, so he should be good at life. At least that was Charley's logic at the time.
I wish I could say complicated, but it was just out of like pure ignorance and just kind of like the unwillingness to just kind of change, because you kind of invest in a person for so long, you want to believe that this is all part of the movement, and you just like, and since you have such like a good opinion about him in your head, like pretty much all that goodwill from like all those other days, like back then where he used to have been a prominent WoW player, you would pretty much carry over that goodwill to like any sense of variety he does.
But in 2023, Charley's opinion on Asmon really starts to change, specifically because of anti-woke content. He realized that it was just kind of the same thing over and over and over. These posts and videos were making less and less sense.
So 2023 was like the point I stopped watching him hardcore. It got boring, it got repetitive.
Asmongold's endless attacks on DEI, woke, and political low-hanging fruit just stopped being interesting.
The thing about anti-wokeism is that it's the perfect propaganda tool, because fear-mongering it's like the ultimate tool when it comes to like...
At least he has like tremendous self-awareness.
Easily converting your thing to like, hey, like you used to be a WoW player, but now you're like a full-time political content creator. It's just honestly frustrating to me how I was just like led on for years, and it just amounted to like absolutely nothing. I just couldn't do it anymore.
These days, he sort of stopped watching Asmongold as much. Charley still sees Asmongold because on Twitter, he's unavoidable. But now, he sees a sadness in his former idol.
He moved away from his like most lovable hobby, which was like World of Warcraft, but now he's just like pretty much miserable with like Twitter now.
Though Charlie has stopped watching Asmongold, he's found it difficult to get rid of all of his mannerisms entirely. Asmongold was a major figure to Charlie, someone he's still struggling to move past.
He's still been kind of my disease. All that grind mentality, as of recently, became deeply diminished. It begins to like pry open your like mental state. There's just like nowhere to go except the hole you kind of dug for yourself.
I get the Asmongold appeal. It's like watching something a little bit upsetting, like a blackhead popping video. I guess I don't understand it. I have nothing in my life that I can compare this to. Maybe I have the weird kind of autism where I'm literally obsessed with like maximizing. I'm obsessed with min-maxing. Okay, I'll use a gaming term for all you gamers in the chat. Okay, where everything I do, I try to min-max. I'm trying to brain max. Racist Coco Melon. This is true. I'm you know, when I'm offline, I'm trying to friend max, or I'm trying to brain max. I'm trying to learn. There's a lot of information out there. There's so much that I don't know. So I'm trying to fill my brain with as much information as possible so I can be a more competent commentator. I'm working out, body maxing, right? And it's strange to me that with the limited amount of time that people have in their lives, they choose to spend it watching Asmongold. I don't know.
When it comes to Charlie, he makes me feel hopeful about the future of Asmongold viewers. Because when we kind of look at what these people are going through, a lot of that.
I sympathize with this guy feeling like a streamer is leading him on. It's like how you lead us on pretending you're going to game. I literally do not even lie to you anymore. I don't even dignify you with a lie. I tell you openly that it's not happening. So at this point, you're just on maximum copium for thinking that it's happening.
Again, feel kind of hopeless. But Charlie was able to pull himself out of the sadness. He was able to see through the veneer.
He used it as his like kind of his like massive specialty gimmick where it's like, oh well, I may be a degenerate, but at least I'm an honest degenerate, and that's all that matters. I could say the most like rancid, disgusting thing on the internet, but hey, like, I'm being honest, guys. Like, and that's just the most dangerous tool when it comes to like a cult figure.
The problem with anti-woke content is it's very addictive. It's a new enemy each day. It's finding something that you personally despise to attack. And, you know, if you can't see through that veneer, if you can't see through the bullshit, then you're just going to keep going into it more and more and more. And even though I'm feeling a bit under the weather, I still think it's important for us to see the sun one last time.
Everything sucks these days. Our politics is just feeding us mindless nonsense. Everybody hates. The world is getting so goddamn expensive, and it just seems like everything is going down. And Asmongold is kind of like the prophet of all of that. He is the crazy, screaming street preacher who is like, the world's ending and everything's gonna go bad. And you're like, yes, Asmongold, you're preaching to me. I understand it. Asmongold offers them a space online around other like-minded individuals who care about the same things they care about, like video games and why video games suck these days.
This is my outlook on it, is like, if you have something in a game, like, you need to make sure that that is like good immediately. Like the whole idea that like players, like, you're not going to have somebody that wants to spend more than like 10 minutes to have fun.
It's a sort of community that they don't have in the real world. It's a space where they can feel more free and more fresh, and I feel Asmongold is preying on that. These people are lonely and have nowhere else to turn to, and Asmongold is offering them a space where they can feel what they want to feel, that they can say whatever bad words that the communities around them deem inappropriate. They want to feel like they're part of everything.
I've taken over your disgusting mannerisms now. I'm 6'4", muscled up and enraged MAGA and have a subpoena from the government. I apologize. I mean, people do actually, you know, I try to present myself as a decent role model. That's part of the reason why I think whenever I go out to protest, there's hella people at those protests who are like, bro, I'm here because, you know, you got me out here. That's it. And that, I think, is infinitely more productive than sitting at home all day, rotting and complaining about titties in video games or black people in video games or how the government should purge all of the non-white people from U.S. soil, and poor people deserve less because of their moral failings or whatever.
People don't have conversations as much anymore.
No, because they don't want to, and nobody thinks about anything anymore.
No,
That's the reason why.
You think you do, but you don't. People go to convenience over and over and over again instead of doing the more difficult thing and having real interactions with people.
Asmongold isn't turning these people antisocial. They already are, but he's giving them an outlet, a place where they can feel like they don't need to grow, they don't need to change, they don't need to live outside their echo chamber. They can just continue being who they are, and that's where the problem lies.
He did an hour video yesterday of one of these woke games. It was called Relooted. I watched the video. It definitely just came across as low quality content.
Listen, guys, it's a hard game. There's a lot of graphics going on here.
I definitely have noticed I soured on his content, and that's whether it was the way he was acting, where he's just playing it up. I think because of the way he was playing it up, it felt like the mask had dropped, and that was his reality. And I'm like, oh, maybe.
See? One day, people will also look back at his like fake laughter and go, gross. Because he can't play games. Yeah, he's really bad at gaming, and he gets really mad, which is, I guess, the closest, the most similar I feel to him.
He's an idiot.
Asmongold doesn't want you to improve. He doesn't want you to become less lonely and become a better person. Because if you do, you might stop watching him. I don't really think he thinks about this stuff. I think he knows at his heart of hearts that if these people start to get better and don't think that all of these like immigrants, women, DEI are the enemy, then they might try to leave. They might see Asmongold as the enemy.
It's crack, bro. It's copium. That's what it is. Everything sucks in your life. You're at your lowest point in your life, and you look at a guy who, you know, visually looks like he's always at the lowest point in his life, and he tells you that the reason why you're in the lowest point of your life is not because of capitalism, not because of the way the system is designed, not because of your starting point, your shitty spawn point or whatever. And it actually has everything to do with the fact that there are brown people out there, scary brown people, that there are trans people out there, and that's what society cares about. They don't care about you, a white man who has been over and over again, a white man who never achieved what you were destined to achieve, what you were told you were supposed to achieve in a society that's supposed to be designed around your domination. And it hits like crack. Yeah, and women, of course, women. Oh, yuck, women, the biggest enemy of all. You know, you're being replaced. The elites in society don't care about you, which they don't. There's truth to that. And they're trying to replace you with third world migrants. And women don't want to you, and it's because of feminism, because they think they're better than you, because they want to someone hotter than you, right? It's not crack, it is heroin, exactly. And it dulls your senses, and you sit there and you wallow in your filth without ever assuming that you have the capacity or the power to self-improve. and that hope, every day, that hope of a better future is robbed from you, okay? And you wallow in your self-pity, and you fall into this deep, dark space where the only thing that gives you hope in your life, not hope, but like the only thing that gives you joy in your life is reveling in the pain of others. Okay? That's what it is. That's how this works. Everything sucks for me, and it sucks for me because of systematic factors, but not the correct systematic factors. Systematic factors such as, you know, brown people that we're importing into society, right? And women that don't want to fuck me because of feminism. And in all that doomerism, you just find yourself in this deeper and deeper pit of despair. And the only satisfaction you can ever derive, in that deep pit of despair is to basically get together with a bunch of other people who also are just as sad as you and cyberstalk enemies. The sense of community that you arrive at in places like Asmongold's community, in places like Sexpestany's community, are entirely designed around enemies, okay? And they're not usually even ideological enemies. Sometimes it's ideological enemies, but oftentimes it's a figurehead that is a stand-in for the ideological enemy. It can be a Twitch streamer that your favorite content creator has deep envy and resentment for. Attack him. You're attacking him to do politics. And I see this all the time with, again, Epstein's fan base, right? They're not normal. They spend every single waking moment like spamming clips to be like, let's go. There's actually a little bit of motion around like, Hasan is in trouble. The federal government's coming after him. Let's go. Let's slam as many clips as possible on the timeline. Let's take a little bit. Let's chip away at his, high horse. This guy, right? You didn't do anything. You didn't accomplish anything. Your life didn't get better. You just felt a sense of satisfaction because you're trying to drag others down to where you're at, and it's not going to even work. With Asmongold, it's also me, but also beyond me, it's random video game journalists, right? Random transgender content creators on the internet. There's tremendous satisfaction from kicking them down a peg while they're already on the ground, Yeah. A reminder that no matter how bad things get for you, it's always going to be worse for that person in that immediate moment when you're cyberstalking them, when you're A-logging them, when you're actually trying to ruin their lives. And that's it. You're talking about this. You're talking about it like this is exactly the sort of thing they derive satisfaction from. It is. You talking about it like this is the no. I don't think my recognition of why they tap the glass and how deeply unhealthy it is actually going to offer them satisfaction. Maybe, right? Maybe. I'm sure some of them get excited. They're like, oh, he's talking about me. Oh, I've got to him, right? But what they don't understand is I am trying to lend them a helping hand. Like, I legitimately want them to do better. I want these people to do better. I want everyone to do better. Okay? So when I talk about this stuff, it's not to like disparage these people and be like, oh, you, eat shit and die. It's to genuinely be like, I hope you can snap out of it. I hope this is a moment where you think you're tapping the glass, but the glass is tapping back at you and you get scared. And then hopefully you look at the reflection and you see what you've become and you make the necessary changes in your life to get better. Like Asmon, one of the biggest Twitch streamers whose community is vilest, will just say this about a trans woman with 10 concurrent viewers and nobody cares. I don't see these people as people and compares her to a dog. Remember when this was against Twitch TOS? Yeah.
But she's staying so strong, these people are demons. Well, I mean, guys,
look, someone compiled tweets from this random trans Twitter user, okay, just so they can get together as a community and rip into them, right? Lay into this person, right? Make their day awful. And then they take it the next level. They go to the account and they're in the replies and they're like, you're trans, you're going to kill yourself, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, all this shit. Like, when you're doing that, right? When you're doing that, you're not in a healthy mindset, man. You're literally one step removed from unironically engaging in suicide by cop or a school shooting. The only thing holding you back in that situation from committing a heinous act of violence is basically the fact that you're too afraid to go outside and encounter another human being, thankfully. It's crazy. A lot of these shadows aren't fully rooted in this hopelessness and they just think they found community. They can easily be pulled out by showing them there's another way. Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's definitely a lot of people. In even this community that probably found themselves in their lowest point in their lives at a certain point, maybe a couple years ago, maybe as recently as last year, right? And they were engaging in this kind of behavior, but something shifted. Maybe they heard Asmongold explain a concept that they were more knowledgeable of, and that caused them to snap out of it, right? Because that happens a lot. Tam bir drama whore oldun aga. Önceden böyle değildin. Bak. Türk Asmongold fanı. Türk Asmongold fanı. Tam en sevdiğim adam sensin. Var ya. İnanılmaz. Niye bugün geldin şimdi burada söylüyorsun? Drama whore oldum aga diye. Çünkü hoşuna gitmiyor. Sevdiğim adamın anasını sikiyorum diye. Sevdiğim adamlara laf ediyorum diye. Ve de sana laf ediyorum diye. Biraz hayatını düzelt oğlum. Kimsenin fanı değilim. Ha peki.
I'm going to just be kind of blunt. Comments like this don't bring her back and kill her again. It's just a stupid comment made by an idiot on the internet. Like, whenever I say that I don't care what people's opinions are, it's because I don't care about the people. Like, why would I, like, for example, like if a dog is barking at me, I don't ask myself and think, oh my God, I'm so sad this dog was mean. I don't even think about it. It's an animal to me. I don't even, like, it might sound bad. I don't even see these people as people. I don't treat them like people. I don't see them as people. All I do is I just see what they say and I respond to it.
What do you help me pull me out of one of my lowest points in my life a few years back? I mean, I try to do that. That's the goal, you know? Hey, he's talking about me. I used to watch Asmongold. My sis told me to start watching you. Asmongold started to talk about women all weird, and I was like, this guy, you are so much better and actually makes sense. I learned so much, discovered myself as non-binary, pansexual. Thank you. I've become a better person, and thank you, sis. Hell yeah, chatter.
I feel like nowadays, nobody wants to critically think about anything. Nobody wants to have their own opinion about anything. Like, I've noticed this a lot.
Because in their real world, that's what people would tell them if they had community. A lot of these men are isolated. They lack a support system that sort of keeps them from going down 100%. These deep, dark rabbit holes. I think after COVID, a lot of people became even more isolated and unaware of what was going to happen to them. And they went down deep, dark rabbit holes, blaming all of these other issues for their problems, rather than what was actually causing them, which was their isolation, loneliness, and lack of human communication. We as people need other people in order to feel whole. Human society was born out of a need to congregate. And when that community is taken away and completely disregarded, we sort of lose our sense of identity. We lose who we are. And when someone offers that sort of sense of community, it becomes even more important. Influencers give online individuals a community, and Asmongold is offering them a different sort of community, one that isn't more politically correct. Remember a time when you could be on Xbox and say a whole bunch of slurs? Asmongold offers you that space. And there's a Discord where you can hang out and talk your shit.
The Discord is basically a shit post. It doesn't really have like anything to do with the general like Asmongold stuff. It's just like a little hangout place.
You can be exactly who you want to be, even if that person is, you know, kind of gross. You don't need to improve. You don't need to get better. You don't need to be a happier person, because you can be an Asmongold viewer. You can be part of the club. And now for something that I hope doesn't make too many Asmongold viewers uncomfortable. And I'm gonna go touch some grass.
Good video. I don't think anyone has ever done a like psychoanalysis on Asmongold fans in general. So, which creator's fan should I look into next? Like, I feel like if he did something like this in my community, I suspect that the outcome would be very different. And I know that because journalists have profiled my fans. He seemed visibly annoyed with this video and you watching it. Who? So what's interesting about this is journalists have reached out to my fans, like NPR and other numerous outlets have reached out to my fans at times when they're doing a profile on me, and they've had them featured in the reporting, and it's a very different vibe. What do I hear all the time when I go outside, when I go to protests, when I go to when I go canvas or do campaign events and things like that? People come up to me and they say, "Man, you changed my life. I wouldn't be out here doing activism if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be door knocking if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't be at this protest if it wasn't for you." Things of that nature. And that's exactly the change that I want to see in the world. That's exactly what I want my output to look like. I don't want to lead you down a pit of despair, to be sad, lonely, and angry all the time. I want you to be angry at the right things and use that anger and resentment for designing a more productive future for yourself and others, right? That's why I always urge you to touch grass, urge you to be normal, urge you to go out and organize in your communities, organize labor unions in your workplace, join the DSA, go out and door knock for candidates, right? Phone bank, that's it. I want you to be the best possible version of yourselves. Hasan Reaction is one of the best ones in the React channel.